Hey, yo, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the BTC, the Break the Cypher crew. I'm your host, Mike Grady, here with Emerson. What's up, brother?
Hey, doing well.
Yeah, how was your day today?
Good, dude. There's a little bit of hail that came down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're in Southwest Colorado. We're getting a little snow today. It's October 18th, 2024.
It is.
It's kind of nice to see the snow flying a little bit.
Some flurries.
What'd you do today?
Made the rounds, got over to the market, got some good eats.
I finally made it to the gym today.
Wow.
I guess I went yesterday, too.
On a streak.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting jacked. It's crazy. And so that was kind of cool. I've been like hard on myself for a little bit about not going to the gym, feeling a little like sluggish these days, but kind of forced myself to get there. I went and got my coffee first.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I was like sitting on the bike, like hanging out.
Ease into it.
I did a 20-minute bike ride and had my latte with me. I know. It's like I had to like trick my brain into thinking like, okay, we got the quad shot oat milk latte, and then I'm gonna sit and do the news feed thing, but I'm like on a bike.
You're working out.
Exactly. Yeah. And so effectively tricked the brain this morning, and so that felt pretty good. And then it's kind of nice to like feel the snow flying in the mountains, really. Like been waiting for a minute. It's been a really good fall.
Yeah
It's been awesome. But thank you all for kicking it with us today. We appreciate you tuning in. Got a couple interesting things to bring to your attention today. I don't know, if you are a fan of Theo Von.
I am.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
I listen to his podcast. I mean, I think the dude's legit. I like his attitude. He's just like got the right thing going on right now. I look up to him. And I also get a lot of like really cool information out of him. The last like few episodes that he's had have been like, oh, damn, dude, this is like kind of a interesting thing. And there's always been like a couple of like, head scratchers in there. It's like there's like interview with Mark Cuban about his new like online pharmaceutical business, which like undercuts big pharma by I don't know, like 10,000%. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but it's pretty fucking ridiculous. And we're not seeing any, advertising about it, which always makes me think like, who's big pharma got in their pockets?
Everybody.
Yeah. And then the last one I listened to, I guess it was a Theo episode that came out on October 6th. You should check it out. It's with the union president for the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien. Super interesting episode, start to finish. I was just enjoying it. And then in the end, they start talking about cannabis. It's like 1 minute and 34 minutes, or 1 hour and 34 minutes in. They start talking about cannabis. They start talking about helping create unions for cannabis. And so I was like, oh, dude, this is perfect. Like, we just started this podcast. We're talking about these things. I'm doing my normal thing, listening to, music and podcasts as my day goes on. And this thing just kind of like comes up. And I'm like, damn, dude, that's fucking badass. Did you have a chance to listen to any of it?
I saw some of it, yeah. I saw that ending section when he speaks on cannabis, and it's quite interesting, honestly, just because of how involved and how big the Teamsters Union is to want to get involved in this new up-and-coming industry that's about to have a huge change in regulation. Makes a huge difference, That's a lot of support coming into the industry if they're going to help workers, help small businesses, with the support of the Teamsters Union.
Yeah, totally. I didn't even really think about it until the actual podcast episode, and then I was like, damn, dude, I feel like randomly at the weed shop and stuff, people have brought up, the customers have brought up as I was like working the store, like, oh, you guys should unionize. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't really know anything about that. And so, I feel like it was really interesting, and it came at a really interesting time. We got Kamala, we got Trump. We're all talking about legalization. The United States. Snoop Dogg is on the Today Show. All of a sudden, he's just making it rain weed all over the country. But there's like the back of the house infrastructure that's like really important to address before this thing really gets away from us, and just over the years, like, I mean, I've been a part of an industry that's just been a bit of a head scratcher the whole time, like, and so when it comes to like, I guess like a Teamsters Union, I don't know, is it the Teamsters Union? Like, is it the name of the union? Is the Teamsters? Do you know?
No, I don't know the specifics of it. I know that they are the Teamsters Union that represent Teamsters.
Same
workers.
thing. I feel like my like knowledge of it is pretty vague, where it's like, okay, are the Teamsters one union and then there's like another union? I don't really know. But people bring up having a union for weed quite a bit, and I never really know what to say. There's all sorts of things to think about. I've like owned a weed shop for 15 years. So 2009, we opened up Alpine Wellness, Telluride, Norwood, Colorado. Look it up. It's a great spot. But some of the things that we face is like, I know that like the union is supposed to, support and back up like the workers. And I think that's great. They definitely need that. And, but I was like listening and thinking like, this would be great for like the industry as a whole, where it's like, supporting the business owners, supporting the employees, because, as business owners, we're like faced with a lot of weird challenges that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. One of them that pertains to this, it pertains to employees of the cannabis industry that maybe even employees of the cannabis industry don't know about, is a lot of you. Like if you work at a retail shop, we can't deduct you as a business expense. So if we pay somebody, 50, 60 grand a year, the IRS will not let us write that money off. We can't write that off as a business expense because of this tax code called 280E. It's IRC 280E. And so we can't write that shit off. And so have you ever heard of that?
No. It's the first time hearing of it.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Most people really don't know that IRC 280E exists, and it's super strange, And so like 280E, it's this tax code. It was made for drug traffickers in like the late 70s, early 80s. This dude got like busted with a drug trafficking ring. Yeah, and the court, I guess in the end, he was found guilty, but they also tried to like get him on tax evasion, but he didn't evade taxes. He actually reported all the income, reported all of expenses, whether that had to do with like gasoline or with employees or whatever. And so they couldn't get him on tax evasion. And so they adopted IRC 280E, which is a tax code that prevents anybody who quote unquote traffics a Schedule 1 from writing off expenses on their taxes. And so back in the early 80s, whatever it was, estimation of time, okay? I'm not trying to be super specific here, but they're like, okay, cool, you can't do that. Then this whole tax code kind of goes into a filing cabinet somewhere, and everyone's like, okay, cool, we're good. 3 decades go by, basically 3 decades go by, medical marijuana comes out, and they go into this like old file cabinet, and they got this old dusty file that says 280 on it, and they're like, we're gonna use this on these cannabis motherfuckers, and so that's what we're faced with. And so it's like say you work for a dispensary, right, and you got 10 coworkers that work with you at the dispensary. You guys sell weed at the dispensary. You're a manager, you're a supervisor. Let's put all your salaries together and call it $500,000 a year, right? Which would be like pretty cheap nowadays. Well, at the end of the tax year, when we like try and write you guys off, the IRS is like, oh yeah, you can't write these guys off. We're actually going to see this as income, even though we actually gave that money away. And it's like, here's our profit and loss. Here's our balance sheet. Like all this shit was given out. They're like, oh yeah, no. You can't write that off. And so we're actually going to tax that as income. And that kind of slows us down. Like it slows us down from development or, enhancing the experience for employees, whether that's like retirement plans, benefits, whatever. It's like a lot of people don't know that. And it happens every year. It's been happening since 2010. And it's really interesting that like you don't know about it, Emerson. I don't think a lot of people do. Like the federal government has been taking money from the cannabis industry for 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Substantial amount.
Substantial. I mean, like we had to pay, I don't know, probably $100,000 for a lawyer to come and support us in an effort against the IRS, because they're like sending us all those like, final notice before we seize all your assets. I'm like, I don't have fucking assets, dude. Like all I have is weed. In the end, after 15 years, all I have is weed. It's like, you want some weed? Like all you gotta do is ask. You don't gotta like send these threatening letters. But we are up against that every year. And so look it up, Google it, IRC 280E. I think it's really fine and dandy that Kamala and Trump are all talking about legalization, and they're using it for the benefit of, their candidacy or the election. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited about it. It's like I turned on the news and Snoop Dogg is on the news with Al Roker Jr., and they're like doing this fucking weed forecast. Did you see that?
Weather reporting?
Yeah. It's like Snoop Dogg and Al Roker are like doing weather reporting, and it's like all the states that have weed just raining over it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, they tax me as an illegal drug cartel for like 15 years. Let's go 14 years, just so I'm not like victimizing myself. But really, that's the reality. And I'm like sitting here watching Snoop Dogg on the news, and it's like all fine and dandy, and the voters are like, oh, it's all fine and dandy, yeah, like weed. But you guys, there's like this systemic problem going on, and you need to know about it, because that's what I want Kamala talking about, that's what I want Trump talking about, and Sean O'Brien, like that's what I want you thinking about. Like I think these businesses, we like really need your support. We really need people to lobby for us to change these ridiculous tax codes and maybe recover some of the money that this has cost us. I mean, I'm not talking about like 2 years. Some of you, I can hear you right now. You're thinking like, oh, well, you shouldn't have gotten into the weed industry. Well, it's like, well, all right, cool. A couple years of that, fine. But we're talking like 15 years. Like they won't let me write off business expenses that are actually business. I've been audited a couple times, right? The auditors are like, they're pretty friendly. Like in the end, they like know we're broke. They're like, oh, these guys are fucked.
Like, how much more can we tax them?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a big deal. And especially if, we're talking about unions and supporting employees and staff, we got to talk about supporting these businesses too, because the federal government has definitely got their hands in the pockets of this industry. They're getting a lot of money that you guys don't even know about, because we're taxed as an illegal drug cartel, which is nuts, and so, but that's been going on for years. In addition to like, paying income tax for employees and Medicare and Social Security, we do all the things. you know? But then at the end of the year, they're like, well, you can't write those people off. And it's nuts. Like the auditors are just like, we don't know what to do, but, you know, it says here a Schedule 1 substance. And, you know, so yeah, that's going to be like, we're going to tax like 100% of your expenses and stuff.
Come on. That's crazy. And it only hurts the businesses, coworkers, employees, their bottom line. I mean, to get taxed and not be able to write off business expenses to that degree is concerning. Really is.
It's stupid. Not only is it concerning, I totally agree with you, but it's stupid. Like, none of us have a treasure chest full of weed buried in the garden. None of us have a treasure chest full of money buried in the garden is what I meant to say.
There might be a few of those chests.
There might be some weed. There might be some weed buried in the garden, but not money. And so it's like fairly evident. And, you know, I'm like real excited these candidates are talking about. I'm really excited Snoop Dogg's on the Today Show with Al. Like, those guys, they're like my personal homies. What's up, dudes? Give me a call.
Shout out Snoop.
Shout out to you, Snoop. Shout out to you, Al. Really appreciate you guys. This is your buddy Eska Grady in the cartel over here. All right, making it rain. You know, rolling blunts and like selling it legally and paying people legally, and then getting treated like dog shit. And so while you guys do that, and while you guys have fun with it, just know that that's going on. And the Teamsters, like, dude, we would love that kind of support. Like, we're getting dicked around by the government. Somebody's making a ton of money. It's not this industry. It's not our employees. It's not our owners. I think some businesses got in. They had a bunch of money to start with. Like, we got in 2009. 0 people would touch the cannabis industry back then. 0. In fact, the only thing that people said to us back then is you guys are going to get arrested by the DEA. You know, which is now like a phobia of mine. Like, I'll like go up the elevator at the store in Telluride, and when the elevator doors open, part of me is waiting for like blue jackets and yellow letters every day. I'm just like, all right, are they here today? Is there going to be like a no entry tape over the door today? Nope. And I went today to check, and nope, here I am. You know, we're still hanging. But yeah, that's like how we've all existed, you know, for the last 15 years. And so I was stoked to hear from Sean O'Brien. Like I said, that whole interview was super cool.
Yeah, I remember, or just thinking about it now, that Sean O'Brien was talking about the Teamsters Union collectively and all the money that they have and the assets and the portfolio investments that they make. They're looking at putting up to 30% of that portfolio into the cannabis industry.
Really?
Yeah, a substantial amount, especially with, you know, that much capital that union has.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, it's super fascinating to me that they're getting involved. And I think, like, I really want to talk to those guys. You know, I sent Theo a message. I sent Sean a message. I don't know if people will get back to me or not. You know, we're kind of small potatoes, but we do know what we're talking about. And we do have good information for them. And, you know, right now I just brought up like the 280E. You want to hear something else that's pretty funny?
What's that?
Okay. All right. Banking.
Oh.
All right. I get asked this question all the time. I'm going to try and, since we're talking about like the Teamsters Union and employees, and so I'll try and keep it about that kind of stuff. But from 2010 to 2016, we couldn't even get a bank account. You know,
what?
Nobody. I've been kicked out of every fucking bank in Southwest Colorado. I swear to God, you can call all of them and be like, hey, what about this cap, Mike Grady? And they'll be like, oh, we can't even, the first rule about Mike Grady is you can't talk about Mike Grady. That's what happens at the bank when I go. Luckily, Alpine Bank, Colorado Bank, they eventually took my personal account and allowed me to just even have a personal account, which was very nice. Thank you, Alpine Bank. Wow. Much love to you. The business got its first bank account in 2016.
Jeez.
Cricket. That's 6 years after we opened. And so you imagine trying to like hire staff And like, we're like, well, so here's how it works. So you sell weed,
This cash pile here.
and then in like every couple of weeks, you have an envelope that's full of $20 bills, because that's all we got. $20 bills.
It's your pay stub.
Yep. And we got them pay stubs. I mean, we ran it through the payroll system. We did everything. I mean, like for vendors and expenses, I used to have to like walk around the town Telluride with that briefcase full of cash. And I would have to take it to vendor bank accounts, deposit the cash directly into their bank account, save the cash deposit slip for our records so that we wouldn't get like further fucked with the IRS. But that is how it existed. That's how we existed as a company for 6 years. I mean, I remember at the beginning, we were taking like photocopies of the cash. I have like photocopy images of the cash because our bookkeeper was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm like, dude, I don't know either.
They're forcing you to operate as a drug cartel because you
Exactly.
can't even get a bank account. You're blacklisted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was nuts. I mean, I can still go into banks today and it's like 15 minutes before like, so something came up and I can't continue this meeting. Cause like bankers, they don't want to like disappoint you. You come in, you're like, I want an account. And they're like, oh yeah, sit down. Here's some coffee and some donuts and Roddy bro, let's look it up. Yeah. Like 7.5 minutes from that point, they're like, so we're all out of accounts. But there's no accounts left in our bank. I didn't realize that at the beginning of this conversation, but I hope you enjoyed the donuts and the coffee. And I'm like, of course I did.
Not what I came for, but
Not what I came for. But yeah, that's how it goes. And I'm like totally being like on the table about that. Like it's a pain in the ass. And we have had, so 2010 to 2016, yeah, we're paying employees in cash. We're like, we'll pay you this amount of money per hour in cash. Go about it the right way, the complete right way, so that they're like legit and they're good. But we don't have the ability to actually write you a check. And so it's like we went through this whole upward battle of just trying to find staff that wanted to go through that. In fact, we've had like staff over the years where they were kicked out of their bank because the bank found out that they worked for the weed company.
holy shit.
Yeah. Nuts, right?
That's crazy. That
fucking
seems
crazy.
illegal to even discriminate on that basis.
It is kind of illegal, I think. I mean, it is discrimination, And
They're
it's
cashing valid checks and they're going to blacklist them because of their employer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was instances where we had employees lose their bank account because they were depositing cash.
Sure.
Like they got flagged for depositing cash into their bank account. Does that make sense to anybody out there? It never made sense to me. Does it make sense to you?
That doesn't make any sense. That's how the banks operate. They take cash from their customers and put it in their accounts.
That's what I'm saying. And so we had certain employees lose their bank account because they were depositing cash into their bank account. And then once we got our bank account, Alpine Wellness bank account, in 2016, which you have never seen happier people coming out of a bank in your life. In your life. And you know what? We still pay monthly for the account. We walked out of that bank with the biggest smiles on our face, and the bank account was going to cost us $1,300 per month.
What?
And today, as I speak to you, it still costs us $795 per month to put money in a bank. And the bank is 6 hours away from our business. Isn't that fucking nuts? And then Snoop Dogg and Al Roker are on the Today Show.
Making it rain.
Making it rain on the weed. And I love those guys. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but you guys, like, also Snoop, Al, consider, as you guys are having fun up there on the screen. Like, some of us have been doing this for 15 years, and we've been getting dicked around. And unless we do something on, like, a larger governmental level, we are not headed in the right direction. And so I'd love to see you guys start advocating for the changes I'm talking about today, because it's really the changes that need to take place. And so after we got a bank account, this is where I left off. So I'm going to go back. After we got a bank account, we started writing employees checks. Those checks said Alpine Wellness, Telluride, Colorado, because that was the name of the business. We had our first legitimate account. Then we had employees losing their bank accounts because they had checks from a dispensary.
What the hell?
Yeah, like you imagine your bud tender who comes in, they sell weed, they talk to customers, they're like a barista for weed. They come to you, they say, hey, my bank account was closed because I work for you.
How?
What?
How? Why?
Yeah. I mean, like, that's hard, like, to, like, try and keep staff, okay, to pay people to work. And they're losing their bank accounts. They could just be a bartender and not deal with this bullshit. And on top of it, like, we pay somebody to work and all that money is income to the business at the end of the year that we can't afford to pay back, that we have to pay lawyers to fight the IRS for our rights. I mean, that is crazy. And so we do need the union. Sean, like, let's tee it up, dude. Give us a call. Like, we want to talk. Like, because somebody's got to get up there and get these politicians under control. Like, I've written so many emails to Governor Polis in the state of Colorado. This guy does not get back to us ever. You know, he's just like, I don't know what he's doing. I just imagine him like rolling around in $100 bills. Don't you?
Yeah. A representative of the people that doesn't get back to the people, that just wants to enact these laws that hurt small businesses essentially and get away with it without even putting in some reasoning as to why. Just enacting laws for no just reason.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then I see him like get out like Polis. No offense, Polis, but like you're not doing shit for your industry that you started. That I see you get up on the news and talk about how good it is and how successful it is. You won't even return a call. I've sent out so many distress signals. My business partner sent out so many distress signals. And like all we see is like you hop on like whatever ABC News in Denver and you're talking about like, oh, how successful the cannabis industry is. And I'm like, for who? If it's not for the business owners, you must be talking about the employees. And that's false because like we can't afford to pay the employees a good wage. We can't afford to give them benefits. And we got the IRS so far up our ass and you won't even step up and help us. You know, and that's what people see like legalizing cannabis. That is like the beautiful sculpture, okay? And now it needs to turn back into a big block of clay. And we need to carve that shit out so it actually works, looks good, supports people, supports good organizations, NGOs, charitable. Like cannabis industry, you're dealing with a bunch of people who want to, fuel the greater good in the world, and it's like, give us an opportunity, don't tax the shit out of us. Don't treat us like we're millionaires because we're not, like if we just paid normal income tax, if we just paid normal sales tax, we would be in a lot different situation. We'd be looking at like a stair step kind of graph chart instead of like a, sound frequency
of just up and down unpredictability. Yeah.
Dude, it's like boom, we're up, boom, we're down, boom, we're up. And it all has to do with like the government, the Colorado government cashing their check, And so banking, that's one area, Sean, like let's focus on that. Let's focus on how it affects owners, businesses, and the health of their staff. Boom. Happy to talk about that more. Regulations, this is another crazy thing. And most people don't know about, but 2009, 2010, that's when we opened. And you would not believe, there was no regulations when we even got out. Then there were regulations to follow. And for like 6 years, those regulations would change like twice a year.
What?
Yeah. There'd be new regulations. Like They had this one regulation where we had all these packages. All the packages had to be a certain way. They had to say these words, and then we did that. And then they were like, oh, we want to include these 2 words into the verbiage on packaging. And I feel like they were stupid words like the and. And I know it's laughable, it's funny, but they like just made us get all these expensive child-proof packages and make it say all this specific stuff that they wanted it to say. We get all of it. We spend tens of thousands of dollars on this packaging. And then the day before recreational cannabis was legalized, they're sending an emergency rule change out at like 10:30 at night on New Year's Eve.
The 11th hour.
Yeah. And then they send investigators in on January 1st, 2014. They shut our store down at 2:00 in the afternoon.
What?
Yeah, because our packaging was missing 2 words that they just updated.
That's a honey trap.
That's a honey trap. Isn't that nuts?
That's crazy.
They just fucking do whatever
Last
they want.
minute change, and then, we're going to have regulators there to intercept that.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
How is that even legal?
On January 1, it's a federal holiday. We got investigators showing up because the verbiage on our packaging was incorrect. And so, like, we're a business. Like, we just hired a bunch of people, and we're trying to support our bills and our staff. And we're dealing with different ideas from the state government when it comes to regulations. In fact, we're dealing with it right now. Like Illinois. Illinois, the tax rate changes on weed with the percentage of THC.
What? That's fascinating.
Isn't that, it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's fascinating to me that they would even, like, how greedy can you get?
Yeah. I mean, and they're like, why would you even come up with that stupid rule? Like, oh, if it tests at 25%, you pay more tax than if it tested at 15. Why? You know? And like there's a lot of head scratchers. Like, they don't do that with alcohol. Another thing they don't do with alcohol, there's not any alcohol bottles out there that I know of. Maybe you know of some, or many of our listeners, maybe some of you guys know of some. But is there any like child-proof packaging on a bottle of whiskey that you can think of?
Not at all. No.
But like weed, like you buy an eighth of weed, it has to be like approved child-proof packaging. Like, okay, cool. So like it's child-proof, and now it's safe. But like if it wasn't child-proof and your 3-year-old got into it and they knew how to pack a bowl and smoke it, like that's the dispensary's fucking fault, right? Like you got whiskey, it looks like apple juice, not in a child-proof package, not taxed on its alcohol percentage. Like, are we being real here? I mean, the regulations are just bonkers and off the rails and don't make sense. They're not designed for us to survive. They're designed to like wrap us in red tape so they can take us out whenever they want to. That's the way I view it, at least. I mean, it's kind of a dark view, but that's kind of
seems like an accurate view.
Yeah. I mean, like, why is it that like Colorado goes through this, like, let's regulate marijuana like alcohol? And then we end up with the marijuana industry that's taxed 5 times the amount as alcohol, and it's regulated 10 times harder than alcohol. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And all those regulations like end up screwing up our staff. Like, you want to be a staff member at a dispensary? Guess what? You got to sign an 8-page document kind of absolving you of your rights. You got to go get fingerprinted. You got to have a background check done. It's a 30-day process before we can actually start training you in the store, because the state now said, okay, this guy's okay to work in the store. And the local government has been like, okay, now that you're through our application, you can now work at the store. It's really hard to hire people these days, let alone if you tell them like, hey, like we can only pay you in cash and this is going to take 40 days to figure out if you can even do it. It's going to cost you $350 that we won't cover for you. What? What? They're like, I'm going to go work at Bennigan's. Fuck this.
There's no obstacles at Bennigan's.
Yeah,
I just walk in and work.
So I have to wear flair. At Bennigan's. Okay. Got it. Check. Not
Pins.
cannabis industry. The cannabis industry further just discriminates people. You ever had a felony? All right. Like Colorado, like you're pretty nixed from working in the cannabis industry for a while. And I know that is something that a lot of businesses have. I'm just not 100% sure whether or not it's appropriate for the government to create that standard for a business. Like, shouldn't I be in charge of judging somebody's moral character?
Right.
And like whether or not I want them working at our business? It shouldn't have to do with like whether or not they have a felony. It should have to do with whether or not I feel like that they're a liar or a thief or whatever. Like how many politicians have gotten away with so many felonies?
Oh, yeah. That's where all the felonies are. In politics. White collar crimes, though. They don't get prosecuted. But that does make no sense as far as the government saying, oh, yeah, we're looking out for you with these background checks and can't have a worker that has a criminal history. But the fact of the matter is, no, you're not helping the business out or the person. You're just making it more difficult for both parties to even go through with that process. So it does seem ass backwards.
Yeah. I mean, I had one employee, this was back 2010, 11, 12. But by 2012, she was told she can no longer work in the cannabis industry.
Told.
By the government, not by me. Like, I'm telling the government, like, hey, this is one of our most valuable employees. And she has had so much to do with our success. And they're like, sorry about ya. She got a felony 10 years ago and she can no longer work in the cannabis industry. Now, granted, some of those laws have changed over the years, but they haven't changed enough because I'm pretty sure we're dealing with too much government oversight. Like, it's my business. Like, it's not your business. It should be up to me who I trust. And just because somebody got a felony, I don't think their rights should be taken away. I don't think they should be scrutinized and told they can't do stuff just because they got caught doing something. So many of you could have got caught doing something and you know it. What? Like that's what it is. But it's like I'm being told by the government I have to get rid of my best employee because they have a felony from the past. Like, that's where we're getting over regulated, and we do need a contender on our side like the Teamsters. Like, get on in there.
Yeah.
Let us know how we can help. Let us know how we can like spread the word, because there's a problem going on here, and that's not like that. When I watched Snoop and Al Roker doing the weather report, they're not really predicting for the tornadoes around cannabis industry and the hurricanes coming up the coast in Florida. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all sunshine and rainbows. I love sunshine and rainbows, but I want you guys to know that is not what it actually is right now. And it could be that way. It should be that way because weed is like pretty easy, right? It keeps people at bay. It keeps them from going out and getting super wasted and, causing a problem, getting in fights. I've almost never smoked weed and tried to like get in a fight. Have you?
No. It's definitely a non-confrontational experience. I just want to harmonize and melodize.
I just want my sweatpants.
Yeah.
I'm like sometimes I think like, I'm like, oh man, I feel like I should go out, but in my heart, I like know I shouldn't go out. I'll like play a little trick on myself. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna smoke a little bit of weed and I'm gonna think about things. All right, before I do anything. And I do that, and like 45 seconds later, I'm like, where are my sweatpants?
Ooh, we're getting cozy.
Yeah,
we're staying in.
Not going out. It's like not causing the problem. And so yeah, we got the banking, we got the regulations, and there's way more to talk about in each of these areas. It's going to come up over and over again. There's no way to accomplish the mission here, which is changing the cannabis industry for the good, right? Like we all envisioned the good things that you could do with the money from cannabis, or if they just legalized this, it would be so much better. It made so much more sense, right? Like it's like 1979, you're playing Frisbee with your friends and smoking a joint, and you're like, they should just legalize this. I mean, everybody loves it. And they could do so many great things with like the money and stuff. And that is true.
Yeah.
Except we have politicians getting in the way of that. And that is why we got to break the cipher. And so I feel like
Break the cipher, break the greed.
I tried to take some notes before the show so I didn't like just go off the rails. I'm pretty sure we hit all the nails on the head for the most part, but let's see here. Bam, bam, ba-dam, ba-dam, bam. Yeah. So, yeah. The regulations, the banking, the taxes, how they affect owners, businesses, and staff.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Theo Vaughn kicking ass out there, interviewing good people who have really good insight. I would encourage you guys to listen to him. He's funny. And I don't know, he's interviewing great people, so tune in. Like, it wasn't like this episode that I heard by Theo had anything to do with cannabis. It was just in the last 20 minutes. Sean O'Brien, Teamsters Union, Cannabis. Let's do this thing. Let's support appropriate regulations and get the banks working right with the industry out the gate. Like, we can't let them get into the industry after legalization, because let's be clear, like, Trump or Kamala is going to have to legalize it at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And we're still hoping to talk. Have you heard from them?
I have not heard from them, no.
I'm still waiting to hear from them, too. We have messages out to Kamala and the Donald. We are here waiting to talk to you before the general election. And we want to talk cannabis. We want to talk about all this. So, like, listen to our pilot episode, listen to episode 1, and let's get real together about how this multi-billion-dollar, multi-trillion-dollar, potentially global industry is going to work, and how we're going to repair some of the wrongs of the past. Because a lot of us businesses who have built this industry for you to even talk about building,
right?
We have sacrificed everything, and we have been treated like shit by the IRS and by the government, and they just take. And so, when it comes to voting on one of these presidential candidates, if you are for cannabis industry, you should be for hearing about what they're going to do to help the current cannabis industry that's been working hard to prove that we're good people, because we are good people. And we just been like run through the ringer for years. And so that's really what we want to hear from those guys. So if you know Kamala, if you were at like a charcuterie party with her, or you were playing golf with Donald, just mention us. Tell them about the Break the Cypher podcast, right? Sean O'Brien, tell them about the Break the Cypher podcast, because that's what we need to do. We got to break the cipher here. We got to reset. And so, you guys can help us get there. We're just trying to spread the right message about the industry. It ain't all sunshine and rainbows, but it will be one day. Okay. And you could work in the cannabis industry. You could be a CPA for the cannabis industry, or a lawyer, or a consultant, or you could be a general manager of a shop, or be a logistics manager for a new trucking company, or, Air Force 20 that delivers weed from New York to California.
Oh.
Right? That's an idea, my Air Force 20.
Cross-continental.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity that exists. Okay. And the most important thing is that, like, we do good things to keep our government in line and working on our behalf. Now, this isn't a new industry. I don't want you guys to think that. We've been doing this for 15 years. Some of us have sacrificed that amount of time in our lives just so you could, like, buy weed at a store, and so that's pretty cool. Stand up for weed industry, get involved, but pay attention to the facts. The fact is, we've been getting dicked around for a long time. And so don't think anything's changing. And vote for a presidential candidate that is standing up for the industry that's been here. That's all. That's my piece. I feel like I've talked a lot. Something popped inside of me, Emerson. I'm really sorry.
You got the knowledge, man. You're spitting truth.
I mean, it's just fucking, I don't know what happened, but it just came out of me. I couldn't stop myself.
I don't blame you, man. I feel like all things said were valid points, and it was good. It was good connections. A lot. I was learning as you were speaking with some of these things that I don't even know happened or went on as you're paving the way in this new industry, 10, 15 years ago. really going through all these obstacles. And I don't think a lot of people know about that struggle and strife. So time to shed a light on that.
Yeah, shine a light, you know. And so, what did we decide so far about the Break the Cypher podcast? What did we decide? We're going to try and do this for you guys, at least for a little bit, if you like it. If you don't like it, we'll have to adjust. But I think we're trying to hit it on a weekly basis right now. Where we're recording on Fridays.
Record on Fridays. Get this published out Tuesday.
Yeah, we're trying to get a YouTube channel up and running. I feel like Tuesday's good, but I kind of like Wednesday because it's like Weed Wednesday.
That's true.
Weed Wednesday.
It has a ring to it.
We could do Marijuana Monday, but Mondays are intense.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put that kind of pressure on people. It's like, maybe it's like a hump day kind of thing, like Wednesday, where it's like, start thinking about what I'm going to get at that dispensary for the weekend. You know, it's Thursday tomorrow. I don't know if I'll have time on Friday, but
Wednesday's a good day, you're right.
Yeah. I feel like Wednesday, we'll shoot for Wednesday. Maybe it comes out early on Tuesday. Nobody knows. But we do have some social channels, right? We got what is it? We got the
X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, RSS feed.
Wow. I feel like, Are there any other social media platforms? We have the YouTube, the Insta, the Facebook, the RS. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So you guys can like find us out there. We've been like trying to like link up with like-minded people, and we've been playing the game and following them, and they're following us. So if you see Break the Cypher out there, just know that the BTC crew wants to hang out with y'all. With that, I feel like it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, good conversation, man. I think it's a lot of information. And like you said, each topic can go so much deeper. But here we are, bringing it up, bringing it to light.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like I talked too much. And like, you're going to have to stop me sometimes. You'd be like, Grady, you're talking too much.
I'll have like a little like soundboard.
Yeah.
Interception.
We're going to get you like one of those like dinosaur like sticks where you're like shut the fuck up, man. You're talking to. But anyways, thank you guys for listening. This has been Break the Cypher with Mike and Emerson.
Yeah.
You guys are good. Don't believe all the things you see on the Today Show. All
Stay
right?
up.
Snoop Dogg, we want to talk to you for free. We don't want to pay to talk to you. But yeah, let's shine a light on what's actually going on out there. Because that's really what's the most important thing. A pot industry that cannot survive does not matter. That's what we're trying to say. Like this should be accessible. You want to open a weed store, you should be able to. You got to follow certain regulations, great. But there shouldn't be regulations that are so far-fetched that are impossible to, like, do you know what the percentage of nicotine is in a pack of American Spirits by chance? Yeah,
No.
None of us do,
No.
because it doesn't fucking matter out there in the world. But for some reason, it matters in cannabis. In fact, if it tests higher, you got to pay more taxes. That's what we're saying to pay attention to. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for everybody who has inspired us, everybody we mentioned. We got nothing but love for you. And I'm not trying to cause a problem with you, but I just want you to know, when you're talking about the weed industry, you're talking about something that needs some fixing. And that's what we're here to do. And so thanks for joining us. We will see you soon.
See you soon.